seduction. Crystal dawn, ecstatic explosion. Parental advice leads to mental erosion. Stronger than ever before. Dr. Zeero is a drug against war. Line after line, round after round, empty shells fall to the ground. Faster than lightning, high as a kite. Sonic bombardment, brighter than sunlight. Stronger than ever before. Dr. Zeero is a drug against war. Oh, line after line, round after round, empty shells fall to the ground. Faster than lightning, high as a kite. Sonic bombardment, brighter than sunlight. Stronger than ever before. Dr. Zeero is a drug against war. C, yeah. E, yeah. E, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No need for needles, no injection. The substance substitutes love and affection. Total sedation of longing desire. Cremation of senses in friendly fire. Stronger than ever before. Dr. Zeero is a drug against war. Stronger than ever before. Dr. Zeero is a drug against war. No injection. The substance substitutes love and affection. Total sedation of longing desire. Cremation of senses in friendly fire. Stronger than ever before. Dr. Zeero is a drug against war. Stronger than ever before. Dr. Zeero is a drug against war.
Hello, and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show, where it just started raining out of the, well, I wouldn't say out of the blue. It was looking rainy, but I wasn't expecting it. So now I am underneath an awning. And see, it's an adventure episode. We're taking an adventure together. Hooray! So if you've ever been here before, this is the Dr. Zeero Show. And we talk about magic, all kinds of free magic secrets. Because, the best magic out there is free. You don't got to pay for it. You just got to figure it out. Because magic is about the technology of imagination, among many, many other things. So, that much said, what was kind of on my mind today, and this is kind of like a affirming message for people out there. Because I haven't really commented on it, and I don't really spend a lot of time with it or thinking about it. But, as far as family goes, right? Your blood family. and them accepting your beliefs when you start talking about magic and witchcraft and the occult, and, you know, or if you're left-hand path or right-hand path. I mean, you know, like the left-hand folks, you know, their folks or their family they're probably not going to know what that even means. And it's probably a lot harder for them to explain that they're working with the infernal divine to their family members who would be squeamish and freak out and just think you're absolutely insane. And that's what we have to talk about, is family members thinking you're totally insane to the point where it becomes dangerous, because they start thinking, we gotta lock this person up, throw away the key. They need psychiatric help. We need to scrub their brain, and we need to end this magic stuff, and we need to bring them back to the world where Jesus is real. You know, Jeebus. Because we talk about, you know, alienation from the family or splits with them because of your beliefs, especially when you come from an Abrahamic religious family, you could say. Un momento, per favor. Walking past the peoples. So I know that's just kind of like here. That's my situation personally. Because if you've been listening to these broadcasts, I've been talking about how I'm probably going to be broke and homeless, and you know, the only other real backup for me, the only people anywhere that would be like, here, come stay with us, would be my mother and stepfather. And they're impossible, like I said, for this reason. And it's one of these things where, like, that whole side of the family, there's like my father's side and my mother's side. They got divorced when I was young, and it split off. My dad, I'm okay with him, but we're not, like, really close. He's not a great communicator. That's the thing. He's you know, blah, blah, blah. He's his own thing, and he's in no position to help me anyway, and I'm not asking for anything from him. And I barely know his side of the family at all. I'm just kind of a question mark to them. And then there's my mother's side. They know me very well, but they're really Catholic. And, you know, I'm like the weirdo kind of outcast, black sheep kind of nutty dude that ran off into the world on my own. And, you know, I'm like real left wing, and they're aware of this. And they don't really like, you know, I'm not really like close to any of them for this necessary reason, because they pretty much just think I'm batshit insane or don't understand what I'm saying, or this or that. There's some that I'm more friendly to, and I know, you know, and it's not like I necessarily have a quote unquote problem with anyone. Don't get me wrong, but you know, they're Catholic. You know, that stuff is real to them. It's very real to them, and it's important to them, and it informs their decision making. And you know, they get married in churches with, you know, the rituals, and they go to like Easter and Christmas and stuff, and they eat of the flesh of Christ as a wafer and drink the holy blood stuff. You know, this is very important to them, as it would be important for me to, like, marry a woman and have children with them and then baptize them Catholic as well. And no way, Jose. So the thing is, these people, I think they vaguely understand that I'm up to witchcraft and stuff. Like, none of them have bothered to ask me what my religious views on it are, and I think most of them wouldn't even take it serious because they don't even understand what that means, like I said, in a very vague way. And then there's others who do know what that means, and, you know, it's the pact with the devil. Everything is the devil. Everything that is the world is the devil is wrong. And everything witchcraft teaches is that everything that isn't is the devil. You know, it's a completely reverse approach to viewing reality. And, you know, if you've been listening to these Dr. Zeero shows, imagine what these people must think having a Zeero Xiron as a family member. And it's to the point where, even though they know that I'm like aggressively not Catholic, they would still bury me with a crucifix against my will. Like, you know, like you would do for like the body of a vampire or something, so it doesn't rise again. Pretty much, I think that's it. But they would never, and this is the thing about respect, like, it is a matter of like massive respect. Because if I did croak, I'd want a pentagram, whatever you want to call it. The right side up, correct way, old school pentagram. Put that on my grave. That's fine. I'll go with that. That's fine. And, you know, I think I'd be cool with that. And they would never do it in a billion years. They would like stop that. So that's like an ultimate thing of like disrespect right there. I always like know that in the back of my head. Like if I dropped out of a heart attack or something, or got hit by a bus or whatever happened, like that would be my fate. So, you know what I mean? So you always got to, you know, when you approach your family, you got to think, are they thinking this way? Is that what they're going to do to me? You know, is it to that level? So I guess the thing I'm trying to say is that, like, don't let family members hold you hostage. You got to be who you are, and you got to believe what you believe. And the bottom line is some of them will think you're completely insane, but you have to be completely wary that they might, you know, use mental health against you. Because like I said, they know, okay, so they know I'm on, you know, psychiatric medication. They knew that I was in the special place because my family member was an emergency contact, but I never really thought they would be calling them for a reason such as that. So they basically, like, the hospital out of the blue involved these people. And now that they've been involved in this, they want to try to control maybe the situation. So it's like one of these things where, like, even if I did go live with them again, if I hit the total skids and just said, I want to go back to where I came from, that would be the only option. And it'd be basically a trap, because these are like people that they will sit there and nod their head and pretend to completely understand everything you're saying and like humor you that they are supposedly computing this and act like, oh, okay, all right, whatever. And the second that you leave the room, they're like, that person's insane. And then they're just talking shit about you. It doesn't matter. You can't get anything through to them whatsoever. And my mother is a nightmare to deal with and one of the most infuriating human beings on the face of the planet, and will try to micromanage every single thing about my life. And, you know, when you're the only child of a person like that, you're kind of like grow up like a prisoner of someone's whims. So, like, as far as all that's concerned, I heard enough from this woman by the time I was 10 to never want to hear another thing whatsoever ever again. And I still had to deal with it for an extra like 8 years because legally I was forced to. And the truth is, like, by the time I was 18, there was nowhere to move out to. And our relationship was so fractured and we barely even spoke that I was just like living there for free. And I just didn't really know what else to do. And I just kept going with it. Because at that point she had kind of like been defeated, you know. It was a long, slow defeat, though. And, yeah, I was just like, I no longer cared, or really, like, all the shit the kooky shit, it's just everything was a response, or everything was just like, fuck you, I don't respect you at all, I don't care. Like, you're a psycho. Like, I'm through with this. And then I couldn't get out because I couldn't find anywhere to live, but I don't know, I guess I didn't try hard enough. It didn't make it my complete focus, but I did move out finally when I was 19, and then I lived in my first apartment, and that lasted for like, I don't know, 6 months, and then I had to bail on that lease. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I went back to the house I came from. And then I got out again, and I went somewhere else for a while, and I got screwed over. I had moved in with my best friend from, like, high school days, early high school days. but he had turned into a total prick. So I don't know, that situation there, that nuked like a huge wing of all kinds of people I used to associate with in high school and stuff like that. We were like hanging out in our early 20s. It was just like the death knell for a whole crop of people. And I was like, fuck y'all. And I got out of there. And then I got stuck living somewhere else in a basement. And then I got, like, what am I talking about all this for? But long story short, once I was 20 and I got my first real apartment, I've been gone ever since. And it's all this time later, and this is finally like the moment where I'm like dead ending totally. And I'm really like realize that, you know, sometimes you have to, you know, if you practice witchcraft and you have this kind of situation with family that I'm describing, you know, what separates certain people is like, there's people who would just shut their mouths and ignore it completely and be PG-13 rated about it if asked and just hide everything. But I'm Zeero Xiron. I gotta let it all hang out. And within 15 minutes, these people would just think I was a raving lunatic if I just told them the direct answer. Because, like, you know, I kind of have to have that discussion with these people, like, how deep I am into this. Like, you don't get, I'm not in over my head. In over my head. That's what they would say. You're in over your head with this crazy crowd. You know what I mean? Like, man, I'm a supervillain. I run the game. I paint the dice. I roll the nickels. I got the ace of spades up my sleeve. And I got a joker in my shoe. So you know how it is. So yeah, this is just a message for the people out there who are feeling what I'm saying. And, you know, how do you deal with family members like that? It's a real private question. So I don't know, my attitude is never back down. But sometimes you get in this weird situation where they're like, no, you're a crazy person, and we want to gang up on you and have you put away because what you're saying is scary. And that happens too. And like I said, I fear that I'm like, honestly, you know, that's one of those things. Because if I sat here and actually described to you not only, you know, my mother, but my stepfather or whatever, it's quite a long rant. Nobody wants to hear that. So yeah, this video goes out as you've heard to all the people that can you know, resonate with my situation. I don't, you know, I have a hard time conceptualizing, you know, truly coming from a worldview of a belief of a religion that, and then like you break away from, you realize it isn't true, and you break away from it and then turn to magic and the occult. Like, I understand what that's from someone who had like Catholicism pushed. And again, as I've just described, I never really fell for Jesus. I never really believed in that. Like the concept of a God of some kind, a mysterious something. Yeah. But I never keyed up with like their explanations of it. So, you know, it was just like this thing that I was like subjected to. And then like when I was like 5, it was like, what's going on? Like, what is this? You know? And then it was like hanging around all the time, and we were always going, but I was never like really sold on it. You know, it was just something that was like being pushed on me. And then the second that I was able to kind of like formulate my own opinion, I just went hard witchcraft at like the age of 8. It just hit me. I just saw it. Like, I just ran screaming from all this stuff. So, yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like where, you know, this or that. I find that Mormons make great witches. That's true. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today on the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secrets Show. Hit subscribe, and I wrote a book. And if you'd like the book, all you got to do is email me, ZeeroXiron @gmx.com. Zeero Xiron @gmx.com. So I'm going to lead out today with something awesome. If you don't know what it is, it's Connell Cochran's speech from Halloween 3 turned into big band music with like a jazz style. Thank you, Suno. You made my dream come true. All right, it's quite a doozy. All right, enjoy it. Okay, later, kids. Hail Arkham, all that good shit. I'll see you guys later.
Enjoy the horror-thon, Doctor, and don't forget to watch the big giveaway afterwards. Why do I need a reason? I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever a joke on the children, but there's a better reason. You don't really know much about Halloween. You thought no further than the strange custom of having your children wear masks and go out begging for candy. It was the start of the year in our old Celtic lands, and we'd be waiting in our houses of wattles and clay. The barriers would be down between the real and the unreal, and the dead might be looking in to sit by our fires of turf. Halloween, the festival of Samhain. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago, when the hills ran red. Sacrifices are part of our world, our craft, witchcraft. To us it was a way of controlling our environment. It's not so different now, it's time again. We don't decide these things, the planets do, they're in alignment. It's time again, the world's gonna change tonight. And happy Halloween, happy Halloween, sacred Samhain, and happy Halloween. You don't really know much about Halloween. You thought no further than the strange custom of having your children wear masks and go out begging for candy. It was the start of the year in our old Celtic lands, and we'd be waiting in our houses of wattles and clay. The barriers would be down between the real and the unreal, and the dead might be looking in to sit by our fires of turf. Halloween, the festival of Samhain, the last great one took place 3,000 years ago, when the hills would be down between the real and the unreal, and the unreal and the dead might be looking in to sit by our fires of turf. Halloween, the festival of Samhain. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago, when the hills ran red. Sacrifices are part of our world, our craft, witchcraft. To us it was a way of controlling our environment. It's not so different now, it's time again. We don't decide these things, the planets do. They're in alignment, it's time again. The world's gonna change tonight. And happy Halloween, happy Halloween, sacred Samhain, and happy Halloween.